This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of the brightest and prettiest and most experienced judges on the Supreme Court, even though she's still young. And folks, those of you from the Wiregrass, she's a native of the Wiregrass. One of the Supreme Court justices, Kelli Wise. Judge Kelli Wise is with us tonight. Kelli, good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tree.
Kelli is born and raised in the Wiregrass, even though her father was a military man. And I knew her uncle, Harold Wise, who served in the state legislature in Geneva County, and he went on to become probate judge, longtime probate judge in Geneva County. And all you Geneva County folks will know y'all are proud of Kelli Wise. Kelli, you've been on the court a good while now, though.
I have. I was first elected to the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals in 2000. At that time, I was the youngest woman who'd ever been elected to an appellate court.
Gosh, you've been on the court 20 years.
I have.
How long? Now, let's see. Folks, the terms are 6-year terms. So you were first elected in 2000 to a 6-year term on the Court of Criminal Appeals.
And I served 10 years on that court, ultimately becoming presiding judge of that court.
So in the middle of 2010, after 10 years on the Court of Criminal Appeals, you ran for the Supreme Court.
I ran for the Alabama Supreme Court.
Was it an open seat?
It was. Justice Patty Smith out of Shelby County.
Right.
I had really big shoes to fill.
I remember. Well, you were probably better known than she was. So you've been on the Supreme Court for 11 years now. Almost 11 years.
Yes.
Now, folks, Judge Kelli Wise is on the ballot next year, so she'll be up for re-election, and maybe she may not have an opponent or not. She's very popular in the state, so she may not have an opponent. But she'll be on the ballot next year. Folks, we have got the most unbelievable ballot I've ever seen in my life next year. We have got a governor's race in every constitutional officer, an open U.S. Senate seat, all 7 congressional seats. Get this, folks, all 140 members of the legislature running under new lines, and all 67 sheriffs. So if you ain't ever seen a political, all probate judges, all 68 probate judges.
Yes.
Jefferson has 2. So, and then we got 2 seats on the Supreme Court up for next year. So maybe somebody who's interested in maybe running for Supreme Court will run for one of those jobs. Maybe you won't have an opponent. But so you sit 10 years on the Court of Criminal Appeals, and then 10 years on the state Supreme Court, and you're up for re-election next year, Kelli Wise. Kelli, tell our folks, I'm sure people are a little bit confused. There's so many appellate courts. Explain to our viewers, if you will, there are 5 seats on the Court of Criminal Appeals. There are 5 seats on the Court of Civil Appeals. There are 9 Supreme Court justices like you. Kind of take them from ground zero and tell them, our viewers, kind of what you see as a Supreme Court justice, all y'all elected 6-year terms, and what the lower courts of civil and criminal appeals, you, of course, matriculated from the Court of Criminal Appeals, they've got a pretty heavy caseload.
They have a very, actually the Court of Criminal Appeals has one of the largest caseloads in the nation, and probably one of the top efficiency ratings as well. So they work very, very hard, as does civil appeals and certainly the Alabama Supreme Court. But I will tell you honestly, the hardest working judges in the state are our trial court judges.
They are, the circuit judges.
The circuit and the district court judges. The district court judges do a tremendous amount of work. And that's not to take away from the circuit judges, who as well have so many cases before them, and so many civil and criminal cases. But we took a little break during the pandemic, but our district court judges kept working because there were things that had to be done.
COVID.
They did, because they had to because of juvenile cases, domestic relations, adoption. I mean, there was just so many things that they had to do. So they were out there in the field, in the courtroom every day throughout the pandemic. our circuit court judges were still working, but they weren't having jury trials. There was just absolutely no way to bring people into the courtrooms to gather, to have them that close. So they were working, but they were not having jury trials. They were certainly handling motions, their motion dockets, and taking pleas, but that it was mostly the district court judges that were out there. You know, they were ground zero.
What did most of the circuit courts close down during COVID?
Yes, yes. We all of the court system closed down, I guess, by about April. And
last year, 2020.
April of last year, and you know, we all, like everyone, we expected it. You know, this will be over with in a month or two, this pandemic.
And it's over a year.
And it's over a year. I mean, it's hard to believe it has taken us this long to get to this point. On the Alabama Supreme Court, we began having oral arguments in July of last year, but even we took a pause. I mean, again, we were still, like the other judges, we're still working, but we're not having open court, we're not having oral arguments. And then, like most businesses, I mean, we certainly had some COVID outbreaks within our building, so the building was closed to the public.
Did any of the justices get COVID?
There were several judges and staff members who did. And so, you know, we had to do what was best for the people that work within the court system, whether it's the trial court level or whether it's the appellate court. I mean, you know, safety is the #1 priority. So we did what we felt was best. But, you know, it's been difficult. I mean, you've got people that have had cases that are waiting to get on a docket for now almost a year, and the jury trials have started back up, and we're very thankful for that. But most of them have been criminal cases because of the speedy trial issues. So you've got to do those first, but you know, you've got people that you know, they desperately need some type of relief, and you know, I've always felt that justice delayed is justice denied. And so I feel for these individuals out here and businesses that have cases pending and have really had to put everything on hold. But I'm glad to say they have started back up. Jury summons are going out. I actually got a jury summons the other day.
They don't take you off lists because
They do not. They do not.
Well, do you have to leave the court to go on jury duty?
I do if I get
County?
called. Yeah, this was for federal. I got called for federal. I've gotten called for jury duty one time. I mean, you know, I'm in my 50s, and only one time I've gotten called. And it was right after I had been elected to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and I so desperately wanted to serve. And I will never forget going to, you know, the cattle call that you have, and Bob Merrill, who was the court administrator at that time in Montgomery County, and he's going through the list and calling, make sure names, and everybody's got to say present. He gets to me and he looks at me and he rolls his glasses down and he says, "You couldn't have gotten out of this."
And you were already on the Court of Criminal Appeals?
Yes, I was like, no, I really want to serve. Well, it ended up, I did get put into voir dire, and it was a criminal case, and both lawyers, both the prosecutor and the defense attorney, when they would ask us the jury questions, you know, because you've got to go from that to picking your jury pool. So I got into this jury pool. They're asking the questions so that they can decide who they would like to serve on the jury. And I knew it was not going well when the defense attorney, as well as the prosecutor, every question started with, "Other than Judge Wise, has anybody da da da?" Or do you know da da da? So I thought, okay, this is not going to go well. And obviously I was cut. I didn't make it to the jury. But you know, it's my civic duty, first of all, to serve. And I really wanted to serve. I wanted to know what it's like and to be on a jury and understand what the jury is doing, because on the Supreme Court, our job is not to reweigh the evidence like a jury does. They're the ones that are responsible for going over that. Our job on the Supreme Court is to simply make sure that the individual received a fair trial and that the trial judge did not err in any of their decisions. So I wanted to see what it was like to be on the jury. So I've recently been called up for a federal case, and we'll see whether they actually call me or not.
The Criminal Court of Appeals has 5 members, and who all, let's see, the Judge McCoo, Judge Wyndham,
presiding judge,
Mary Wyndham. Presiding judge. She's been here on the show.
And does a fantastic, well, actually all of them do a great job.
And then
Judge Beth Kellum.
Beth Kellum, yeah.
Judge, we already mentioned
Mary Wyndham,
Justice
Chris
McCall.
Beth Kellum. Who else is on the Court of Criminal Appeals? Let's see.
Judge Cole.
That's
because
right.
I'm always thinking McCool and Cole.
And then now on the civil, my good friend Bill Thompson is presiding. He's been there a while now.
He's been there a while, and he just most recently lost his mother, Sid Thompson, who was
she read my column religiously.
The most dynamic woman anyone would
I
have
would
the
hear
pleasure
from her.
of knowing. She was a trailblazer, served on the city council, the county commission. She just was such a spitfire and was probably the kindest and most gracious person.
I have to agree. I heard from her consistently. She would read my column and she would send me some commentary about it. But I've sat by Bill Thompson at ball games for years and watched his boys grow up. They're just as handsome as he is.
And the daughter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the boys come to the ball games with him. I haven't had a chance to meet her yet. But
she's delightful,
Thompson,
as is his wife, Melinda, who is an extremely accomplished woman as herself and makes the best pound cake. It would make my grandmama cry because it is so good.
Let's talk about the members on the Supreme Court with you. My friend Tom Parker, Chief Justice. Tom, and as we talked about before the show, Tom and I grew up as friends. We went to Boys State together. And then there's you from Geneva and 20 years on the court, Kelli Wise. And then, are you the second largest? Who's the longest serving member in seniority? You may be one of the longest serving.
Well, in seniority, it's Justice Mike Boland.
Mike's been there longer than
you. Who is a former probate judge.
I knew he was. He's having to retire this year.
He is, and I hate it. He is such an incredible legal mind, and really is I don't want to call him the grandfather of the court, but he has so much institutional knowledge. When he was elected to the Supreme Court from the Jefferson County Probate Court, I believe he and I and Justice Greg Shaw, who's on the Supreme Court, we were all elected at the same time. Greg
2010,
and I,
all
yes,
three of y'all.
Greg and I were elected to criminal appeals, and Justice Boland.
So Boland went on the Supreme Court in 2000?
I'm almost positive he was.
I remember he was probate judge at Jefferson.
I think he and Justice Stewart were elected. Our former Chief Justice, and she retired.
So she retired. Is Sarah Stewart still on the court?
No, that is Sarah Stewart from Mobile, who was recently elected.
She's on there now. Okay, yeah.
She's on there now.
Oh, Lynn Stewart. Lynn Stewart and Bay Minette. That's right.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But it's easy to get them confused because you've got former Chief Justice Lynn Stewart from Bay Minette, and you've now got current Supreme Court Justice Sarah Stewart, who's from Mobile.
Yeah, but they spell their name differently.
They do. They spell their last names
I had
differently.
Lynn on the show when she was running for the Supreme Court. She and John McMillan, the longtime conservation director and state treasurer and agriculture commissioner, they're old Baldwin County friends.
Absolutely.
They grew up maybe the same era, and they have the same roots in Baldwin County. You know, Baldwin County is so fast growing, Kelli, that very few people are from Baldwin County.
It has definitely changed over the years.
Don't show that this is fast growing. But back to the Supreme Court. Let's go back.
Okay.
All right, Judge Parker, Tom Parker, you, Kelli Wise, Mike Boland's got to retire, so that seat will be open. Sarah Stewart is newly elected.
Yes, our newest.
My buddy Jay Mitchell.
Jay Mitchell. He's our
the
our
tallest
newest.
one. You're the best looking. He's the tallest one. He's the tallest one. He's 6'8". I like Jay Mitchell.
He is fantastic. The most incredible family.
His mom reads my column. I get emails from
everybody reads your column.
I get emails from his mama, and she says, "Thank you for talking good about Jay, but he is such a quality guy."
He really is.
And a heck of a basketball player in college.
Yes, absolutely.
At 6'8". Let's talk about some other.
We've got Will Sellers.
Oh, Will, the tax lawyer.
Who is the trickster of the court. And I have to tell you the story. Every April Fool's Day, and you'd think I would pick up on this after a few years, he will send something out to the members of the court, something very official sounding on letterhead. And so this year, we get a letter from the Alabama Archives and History that they are going to do an exhibit on the mask of elected officials, and for the court it's going to be the masks of justice. And they want us to pick out 3 masks, and they were going to send over, you know, sanitary plastic bags for us to put them in, and ask us to type up a little paragraph about why that mask was important for us. And so, you know, I'm looking at all my masks going, well, I don't know which one. And this brings in Jay Mitchell, Justice Mitchell. Well, his wife had made me a mask for myself and Sarah Stewart, Justice Stewart, and had prayed over it. And so when we had our first OAs after not having them for close to 5 months, I wore that mask because it was important to me. And so I've got that, I've gotten it cleaned, it's in my little, I'm ready for them to come pick it up, I've got my little saying. Well, finally, I think I was probably talking to Justice Bryan, who is my dearest friend on the court,
yeah.
And he's up in 2024.
Yeah, he and Tom Parker seem to be
Yes, so he, actually a lot.
I wondered about that.
Oh,
yeah.
it's the majority of the court will be up in
Okay.
2024.
Mitchell
But
Parker's up, yeah.
yes, and Justice Stewart and Justice Sellers. But so my friend, Justice Tommy Bryan, as I'm telling him, I'm asking him, I said, what masks are you going to use for the exhibit, the Masks of Justice? And he's just like, you know that was from Justice Sellers. That is not real.
You find it don't you?
Yes. So Justice Sellers, while incredibly intelligent and very hardworking, is also our trickster of the court.
Do you know his wife, Lee Grant, is kin to me?
Well,
my mama was a Grant, and the Grants are all in Pike in Montgomery County. They're so close. You know, my mom was from Pike County, and but all you know, that was kin to me, old Will Barfoot, the state senator.
Yes, I know exactly.
Our ancestors, we traced them back. Came from North Pike County. North Pike County is so close to the Montgomery County line that's why I'm kin to those Grants, and we're all kin. But I knew Lee growing up. She does a lot of stuff with Girls State.
And actually, I was a counselor at Girls
Did
State.
you? Have you done that?
With Lee, yes, and enjoyed it very much. But
because of Lee, or just they wanted you to do it?
Well, I had gone to Girls State, and so
I wondered about that.
I wanted to do it, and my mother went to Girls State.
Your mother
and my aunt.
Are
went
you
to Girls
serious?
State.
I was like,
Yes.
Kay Ivey did too.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And so I've had the opportunity to serve as a counselor with Girls State and swear in some of the girls to their office.
You and Lee may have been there at the same time.
We were not.
Yeah,
We
but
were
you
not.
went
She's a
to.
little
Were
bit
you
younger
at
than me.
Geneva when you went to Girls State?
No, I was from the Talcott County.
Talcott County.
Yes. So I mean, but I laughed at you when you said you'd be surprised. Lynn and I Lee and I are
Kinfolk.
related, but you know, I'm like you. I'm a 5th generation Alabamian.
So you kin a lot of people.
And if you talk long enough to somebody, you're going to make kin. It doesn't matter, but you just have to find those connections. But you do.
Exactly.
You make kin.
You know, but that Girls State has got a really great heritage in Alabama.
Oh,
There you are. Name some of the other ladies in the state who are in government. Lee Grant Sellers, Will's wife. Kay Ivey has been a counselor and active in the Girls State.
I think that Justice Stewart may
I
have
bet
gone
she
to
was.
Girls State.
Did she grow up in Mobile? Or you know?
No, I think no, the other Justice Stewart.
Oh, Lynn Stewart.
I think Lynn.
I bet she
involved
was.
in Girls
I bet
State.
she was.
And I am sure there are plenty of members of the legislature, and I'm not so sure. My best friend Twinkle Andress Kavanaugh.
I bet Twinkle did.
I bet Twinkle. We've never really talked about it, but I bet she probably did as well. But I'm telling you, the young ladies that attend Girls State now, they could run circles around me. They are so dynamic. I mean, it is just. I look at these young people and I think of what I was like at their age, and they are heads and shoulders above me. I don't know, I think that they're more driven, although, I mean, you kind of have to be. I mean, I will tell you, my staff attorney, her precious daughter, who was smart as a whip, made a 35 on her ACT. The one time she took it, made a 35.
Where did she go to school?
She went to Prattville High School, my alma mater. And,
So Prattville High School?
Prattville High School.
35.
She had like a 4.3 GPA because of all the honors classes that she took. And
Where was she undergraduate?
she couldn't get into Georgia Tech. I'm like, what are we expecting of children now? I mean,
Georgia Tech Law School?
no, Georgia Tech, just Georgia Tech. She's just now, she's at Alabama. She's very thrilled to be at Alabama. She's thrilled, but that's what I'm saying. I think the expectations are so much higher now for young people, and perhaps that's why they appear to be so much more mature, more community involvement, more concerned about their future. And I never, as a young girl who went to elementary school in Daleville, then went back for junior high in Daleville, graduated, I went to school in Tuscaloosa, a little part of my middle school in Tuscaloosa, and then graduate from Prattville. I had no idea that I would end up on the Alabama Supreme Court.
So it wasn't like something you ever dreamed about? I mean,
no, my undergrad degree's in biology and nursing. So, I mean, I never envisioned, and then I didn't use either of those degrees and went to work in sales with Procter & Gamble.
Kelli,
and then went to law school and then got a master's.
Tell folks about that. You were working for Procter & Gamble, went to Auburn undergraduate school, majored in biology.
And double minor nursing.
And then that's a pretty lucrative career.
It was.
If you can get a job with Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson and spend 20 years there, that's a pretty lucrative thing. So that was a challenge to, I mean, being with Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson was a great career. So you were in Dothan with Procter & Gamble and then went to law school?
I was. I was kind of a corporate gypsy with P&G. I went to Atlanta, and then I went to Knoxville, and then I went to Dothan. And they were always downsizing, and I was fortunate because I was single and I was young and I could move wherever, as opposed to men and women who had been, they'd spent 20 years with them and had a family, and they just couldn't move. They couldn't take a lateral promotion. And so I was blessed that I was given another move. I was going to have to go to, I think, Sarasota, and it was a lateral move. And they were kind enough to say, you can take this lateral move or we can give you a severance package. And the severance package provided for 2 years of education, my insurance for a couple of years, and it was a segue. I had always wanted to go to law school, and I thought, this is God telling me, here's my sign.
Really?
And it provided me the opportunity to go to law school, to do something that I'd always wanted to do. And so I will forever be thankful for Procter & Gamble for allowing that to happen and for the opportunity to go. I attended Jones School of Law, which, they have this incredible facility now. It was always a good school. It's always been a good school, but they've got a beautiful building now. The law school is separate from the school. They have just done incredible things there, received their accreditation. I mean, they are just doing really great things at Faulkner University. I think it's called Faulkner Law now. When I went, it was Jones School of Law. And so I was able to, I was still living in Dothan, and so I drove back and forth.
You had to go every night?
I went 3 days a week, and my family lived in Prattville. So, I mean, I could come up from Dothan and spend the night with my mother and daddy at their house and then go to school. And work, I got a little part-time job, and so I was able to work a little bit and go to school. And when I got out of law school, I went to work in Governor Fob James' legislative office.
What year was that?
90s.
Was it the second administration?
It was the second administration. I'm not quite that old. Yes,
it
was the second administration.
I was in the legislature then.
You were. I worked with Mr. Sasser and Ann Adams.
Right. Well, Sasser, he wasn't in the House anymore. He was working for the governor.
He was working for the governor. He was his Governor James' legislative liaison. And then left there, went to work with a law firm and did employment. They did employment leasing here in Montgomery and Tabor and Falmer. I don't know if you remember Mr.
I don't remember them.
Okay, but you would know John Palmer.
Oh,
He's from Buckhannon.
Right.
Yes, his daddy was the
John.
DA. Yes,
John,
yes. So I worked.
John was in that firm then.
Yes, he was a partner. He was a partner. I went to work
I didn't realize that.
And then I went to work with on the Court of Criminal Appeals with, at that time, Judge Gene Brown, who was such a mentor. I mean, just such a mentor to me. As a matter of fact, when I was elected the night...
Gene was from Ozark originally,
She was.
She,
no, she is from Birmingham. her husband, Terry, who unfortunately passed away
Uh-huh.
several years ago, he was from Ozark. He was from the
Uh-huh.
Ozark area. But Jean was a great mentor, and the night of my victory
For the Court of Appeals?
for the Court of Criminal
Uh-huh.
Appeals, the first thing she said to me, other than, you know, I'm very proud of you, she said, I have now passed the baton to you, and it is up to you to support the next woman who wants to run for office.
Well, you
So
know,
she
speaking
was-
of that, Kelly, you know when Carl Rove came to Alabama and helped
Perry Hooper.
Judge Hooper helped put a Republican on the Supreme Court. Brilliant political mind. He left with this admonition. He says, in the future races, the best candidate you can fill for the state Supreme Court is a female who has some judicial experience. A Republican female with judicial experience, which fits your bill perfectly. I'm sort of surprised that you and Sarah Stewart are the only two females on the Supreme Court. I think in the future you'll see that court be majority female.
Well, when I was on the Court of Criminal Appeals, we were. At that time, we were
Who
a
all was on
majority
there with you?
female. Judge Bishop
Right.
and Pamela Bishop, and
Right.
she's from, I think originally from North Alabama. I think that's where she does live
Right.
now, is up in the Florence area. And at the time, Judge Sue Bell Cobb, but is now
Right,
former Chief
right,
Justice Sue Bell
right,
Cobb.
uh-huh.
So criminal appeals has done well about sending
has.
people up to the Alabama Supreme Court. And I think that you often need to have that type of judicial experience. I mean, the Alabama Supreme Court is you know, our state's highest court,
Right.
and it is no place for on-the-job training.
No, it's not.
And
That's
so
why it's good to have
it's
experience.
very helpful to have.
Uh-huh.
That is not to say that you have to be, because I will tell you, Jay Mitchell and Will Sellers are incredible jurists, and they came from the private sector
Right.
straight onto the Supreme Court. And
Well,
they
being a-
also bring a very different perspective to
Yeah.
it.
Well, y'all have got a good court, and it's a good mix.
Absolutely.
And you're one of the
Absolutely.
stellar members of it.
Well, thank
But
you.
Judge Wise, our time's
Oh,
up. It goes
okay.
by in a hurry, doesn't
It does. It does.
Folks, our guest tonight has been Judge Kelli Wise, who is a member of the Alabama Supreme Court. She's up for re-election this year, and we hope y'all will consider voting for her, because she's been a stellar member of the Supreme Court. And we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you, Judge Wise.
Thank you.